Hello again everybody, this is Lino Tadros, and in this third and final video of part 1, now that we were able to run everything for the dashboard, the Python application locally, it's time for me to deploy. I would like to deploy both actually, the API application and the dashboard application all to Azure, and instead of running locally, I want to see if it will work correctly in Azure, and I will still be able to use the OpenAI to get responses as well. So let's go ahead and do that. First of all, I have to tell you, this entire video is to exercise your ability to do Control-C and Control-V. So we're going to be copying and pasting a lot of different things, maybe a dozen things directly from your secrets on your machine, and we're going to be putting that into secrets and variables in GitHub so we can deploy correctly using action workflows. So let's go ahead and get started doing that. All right, let's go first of all over here in Visual Studio Code. Notice there is a .github folder, and this is where we usually have our workflows for all the actions. For instance, I have two, one for the .NET based API application and one for the dashboard, which is Python based. Also, there will be another file in here. This is for GitHub pages. Actually, the entire exercise when I showed you in the first video where we do the repo in GitHub, this actually uses an outside product called Just the Docs that will create actually all the different step-by-step for everything. So we really don't need to deploy that. So you're more than welcome to come in here and just delete this file from your repository locally. It's fine as well. The two YAML files for the workflows, API and dashboard, notice they have a .text, and the reason for that is we did not want to leave them as API.yaml and dashboard.yaml because that means they will hit right away in the repo, and we don't want to do that. So only when you're ready, because as soon as you're going to check these two files in, alrighty, into the repo, that means every time you're going to be checking any file, it will hit right away. So only when you're ready, which we are ready now to do that. So we know that we're going to have to rename these files by removing the .text files from each and every single one of them. So we'll go to the rename, and we will click here, and we'll remove the .text, okay? And then we will do the same thing with this one as well. We'll remove the .text, and we should be good to go. So now when I go later on and check into the repo, that means these automatically will be active and ready to go, and every time you're going to be checking anything, it will hit right away. All right, let's go ahead and see now where all the different secrets and variables that need to happen on the GitHub side for our repo, so these will work. All right, and here we are in our forked repo here. All right, this is not the Microsoft one. This is the one we forked in the beginning. All righty, and I will need to actually create in the settings some secrets and variables. So the first thing I would recommend is for you to have something like Notepad or Notepad++ or WordPad, whatever, available. Maybe if you have multiple monitors, that would be great. So we're going to be copying and pasting a lot of things, alrighty? So let's go ahead and start by going to the portal and steal some of the secrets, usernames and password and endpoints and container registry and access keys and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. And now we are in the portal. One of the resources we got created for us using the bicep is the container registry. You see this one? So I'm going to open this container registry that got created for us, and I will need to actually copy and paste some of the information that is important for us from there. So we'll go to access keys right here on the left side. So the registry name will be very important. So let me copy that, and I'll put it in my Notepad++. Alrighty, and then I will also need the login server. That will definitely be important as well. Alrighty, and I'm going to need the username. Let me copy the username. We will definitely need that as well. And then the password, you can take any of them. So I'm going to show the first one, and we will copy that, and we will put the password in here as well. All right, so that's the first part. And you might be asking, why am I using the container registry? Remember, we have two apps we have to deploy. Do I need to use the container registry? Probably not. But the way we have written actually the YAML file, we're actually creating a Docker container first out of the API and out of the dashboard, and we're deploying that image directly into the registry so we can make it very easy in the future when we do CI/CD for continuous integration and continuous deployment, to be able to always create an image and deploy, for each and every single one of them. But you don't have to do it this way. You can just deploy the files themselves. This is a cleaner way to be able to version the different images and so on. Sounds good? All right, the next step, I need to open up a terminal. All right, so we'll go ahead and open up a terminal here, and I need to create a service principal. All right, we can use the CLI to do that, and I'm going to go ahead and put the exact line. We're going to use the AZ CLI in here, all right, and we're going to be creating for our back, and we can give it whatever name we want. I'm going to call mine Tech Excel AI Design Wins, okay. The JSON authority, the role is contributor, and the scope. This is the part that you will need to change. So whatever your subscription ID that you're using, delete that sub ID in yellow and put in there. And then the resource group, whatever you name the resource group, you're more than welcome to delete that and put that. This is an important piece as well. So let me go ahead and get these two things and change them in there. All right, so if I go back to my resource group, I'm going to copy that name, right? That will be my resource group name. And in the subscription ID, just click on copy in there, and that will be your subscription ID. All right, let's go back to Visual Studio Code in my terminal. And first of all, I'm going to remove this RG from here. Let me get that from the Notepad++ as well. And I am going to go ahead and paste it. And I'm also going to go ahead and remove that sub ID placeholder. Let's delete this guy. And in here, let me go ahead and get my subscription ID as well. Control C this guy. And we're right. Okay, so this is good. So now when I actually run this, I should be able to get, all right, I should be able to get a JSON packet right now that has all the stuff in it, and that's important for me. So be very careful, because this entire JSON object needs to be copied and pasted into like Notepad++ or something like that, because we're going to need that in GitHub Actions later on. So I'm going to Control C to copy this entire thing. I'm going to open up my Notepad++, and I'm going to be pasting it in there, and we'll get back to it in a few seconds. And now we get to the fun part where we're going to exercise your Control C and Control V fingers to be able to create all the stuff in the secrets and variables. I'm going to click on settings for my repo here in the GitHub. And once I do that, we will go down to secrets and variables under security. We'll open this up and we'll say actions. All right, great. Notice there are two tabs, secrets and variables. I'm going to create 5 secrets and 1 variable to make all that stuff work for me. So we're going to make it based on the repository secrets, okay, not the environment. That would be a better secured way to do that. So we'll say new repository secrets. You will give it a name, and then the secret will be put in here. There is 5 of them that I'm going to create. The first one, remember when we created that the Streamlit toml file that has the secrets.toml that contains a lot of different things. Let me go ahead and get that from Visual Studio Code as well. I'm going to go to source. There is the dashboard, there is the Streamlit. Remember that file in here that I've changed all the endpoints and the keys and everything for the search, the speech, the language. Well, I'm going to need that as well, right? So I'm going to say Control A, Control C, and I'm going to come back in here, and we will call this one Streamlit Secret. Streamlit underscore secrets. Alrighty, that's the name of it. And in here, I'm just going to be pasting the entire content of the toml file as is. In here will be good. And we'll say add a secret. You will not be able to see this again. So even if I edit, if you'd like to change something, you'll have to do the whole thing again. You cannot update this. And that's the reason, of course, it's a secret. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's create another one. This one, we need to call it ACR login server. Remember, we had that already copy and pasted. We got it from the registry. I'm going to bring in the login server. Let's go ahead and come in here and say that is the AzureCR.io. That's the correct name for it. We'll say add that login server. Great. And now we'll create another one. And that will be the ACR username. And let me go ahead and get the username like we got it from the registry before in the beginning of this video. There we go. And then the next one, we'll create another one. This one will be called the ACR password. Let me get the password for this guy. Control C, Control V, there it is. And we'll say add a secret. All right. And then a very important one, that's the one that we ran the service principal on. So I'm going to call this one Azure underscore credentials. And let's go ahead and take the entire JSON object. That's very important that you got from the terminal. And there it is. That's my entire client ID and secrets and everything else. We'll say add a secret, and we should be in good shape now. All right, these are my 5 different repository secrets, but there is one variable that I need to bring in. Let me click on the variable in here, and the repository variable itself, I'm going to say new repository variable. And this one, we'll call it the app prefix. That's an important piece. Where do I get this app prefix from? Well, if you go back in here to your portal for your resource group, you will notice there is a bunch of numbers and letters that got created by our bicep in the beginning in the first video. This in here that has the word 7, AAQ, whatever till the N2, that is your prefix, okay? So you can actually copy and paste it from whatever you want. So I'm going to actually, let's say, click on this one in here. And I don't need the whole thing. I just need the prefix starting from the 7 all the way till the 2. It's available on almost every single one of the resources inside of there. So that's an important piece. And I'm going to come in here and we'll do Control V and we'll add the variable. And that is the app prefix for the application. Awesome. Believe it or not, I am pretty much ready to deploy right now. So if I go back to Visual Studio Code, notice there are 6 different files that have changed. I deleted a file. I renamed a couple of YAML files, and also from the previous video, my chat with data that I changed, I added the search inside of there as well. All right, no problem. Let's go ahead and come in here and we'll say initial commit, alrighty? And we will come in here and say commit and push at the same time. We should be in good shape. And once this actually gets triggered, all the stuff will happen on the other side. Let me go ahead and see if that is the case. Now, if I go back to actions, in here, notice API deployment and dashboard deployment. They're both available at this point. And notice the initial commit took place. Alrighty. So that's an important piece as well. There is one workflow. And the question you might ask, why is there only one workflow running? What not 2? There are 2 of them. Remember, my only change came in the dashboard deployment, the Python code. I added the search. The API deployment we have not touched yet. So there is no checking into that. And that's a completely different workflow that did not need to trigger. So if I open up the initial commit at this point, you will notice it is creating the Docker build. Like I said before, we chose inside of this specific lab to always deploy to a Docker image first, and then that's the one that will be deployed to production in our Azure app service itself. So that will usually take a couple of minutes. I'll come back after the Docker build is done, and also the deployment. Of course, if you would like for the first time to take a look what's going on behind the scene, you are more than welcome to open each and every single one of them and see how the setup job is done, how the build is done, how the Docker push is being taken care of, the checkout of the actions, everything. You will be able to monitor all of that. Does that make sense? I'll be back once this is done. Okay, as you can see, the Docker build is taking about 2.5 minutes, and now it moved to the next step, which is to deploy to production, and we are deploying right now to the Azure. Of course, if you'd like to see all the code for the YAML, you can go back to action, open up the dashboard.yaml or api.yaml, and it's a very good way of actually learning how YAML works and how to check out, how to create the build for Docker, how to deploy to production in Azure, and it gets all its secrets directly from all the things that we did in the settings for actions for all the 5 different secrets and the variable as well. As a matter of fact, while we're waiting for this, I'll show you what that is. Let me go back to action dashboard in here. I think it's going to be under the code. Yeah, let's go ahead and open up the workflows. And let's open up the dashboard. So if you'd like to take a look in here, you'll see how we're actually getting the secret. So whenever you need, for instance, the Docker registry, login server, or the ACR username or password, this is how it's getting it from the GitHub right there. We're using Ubuntu latest to do that. We're checking out the code. It's definitely, it's a pretty cool way of learning actually how to do that if this is new to you as well. Alrighty. And indeed, as you can see, the deployment to production took about 3.5 minutes as well. So altogether about 6 minutes. The first time you're going to be doing this, that's not a problem. You can click on this link to go directly to the application, or usually in the portal itself, if I go in here to my resource group, you'll notice there is 2 app services, one that has a dash API and one that has a dash. Alrighty. The one with the dash is the Python app. That's the user interface itself. So let's go ahead and click on this guy. And now that this has been deployed to it, I should be able to click on the default domain, that URL in here, and I should be able to see the application running. Let's go ahead and do that and see if it will work. We'll say click on that. And now I'm not running locally anymore. This will end up definitely running the app. And because this has just got deployed, it's going to have to do initialization. So the first time you do this, it will take maybe 30 seconds or so. So we'll come back after the whole application has been initialized. All right, I wanted to get this on video as well, so I don't do this behind your back. I've been waiting for a couple of minutes and it's continued to say loading and it's not happening. And this happens a lot, especially when you have an Azure App Service already running and then you deploy to it. There is a little bit of a confusion right now based on what was available before the deployment and what's available after, because the application was running already. It was not in stop mode. So whenever you see something like this, don't panic. It's not a big deal. I'm going to close this guy. And what it's trying to do in here is that go back to your Dash application and make sure you stop. Okay. So stop it, or you can actually say restart. I don't know why, but sometimes restart doesn't really kick in right away. So I like to do a stop first and wait for it to stop. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on start. And that will guarantee for me that the application is starting a brand new instance. And now I'm going to go ahead and click on this guy one more time. And we will give it a few seconds, probably 30 seconds the first time you hit it. And hopefully the application will start this time. So I do prefer that you actually stop and start after a deployment. That would be a good thing. And indeed, after a minute or so from the first initialization, I do have the application that was written in Python running inside of Azure. And hopefully it will continue to do what I was able to do locally in my second video. So let's go ahead and click on chat with the data in here. Notice it's running at this point, and I'm going to ask a question. Let's see, for instance, if I can ask it, do I need to pay extra money to use an AV station when I'm guest at the hotel? Let's click on that. And again, what is it going to get? All the information about the OpenAI and everything else and the search and everything. Remember, we copy and pasted the secrets.toml directly into the secrets for Streamlit in the GitHub action. So it does have access to all the stuff as well. So I'm going to click on run there, and it should come back and use OpenAI and our Azure AI search, and it should be able to answer that question as well. So let's give it a few seconds here. The first time we'll do this, and we'll come back when it's done. There you go. It's actually over coming from doc2. Remember, we uploaded 3 files, the FAQ, the resort.txt, and there was another one, I remember, 3 in the storage account. Doc2 is the one that contains the information about it varies by location. So this is correct, and it looks like OpenAI is working and the Azure AI search is working as well. Hopefully this was useful to you. Again, please feel free to like and also subscribe so you can see the rest of the videos as well. Thank you and have a great day.